Today I'm going to share with you another technique called the ABCDE model. Now the first part of this model, the ABC part, was originally developed by psychologist Albert Ellis, and it's been added to by Seligman and many other experts. The ABCDE model is a method for building optimism by recognizing and disputing pessimistic thoughts. The key to disputing your own pessimistic thoughts is to first recognize them and then work with them as if they were uttered by someone you really cared about and you wanted to help. Now that's you, by the way. This model is a proven way of upgrading your thinking system. So let's have a look now at how you use this model in your life. A stands for adversity or activating event. So it's basically what happened. When we encounter adversity, we react by thinking about it, and our thoughts rapidly develop into beliefs, particularly if we use them often. So the purpose of this model is to give you a way to disrupt that automatic thinking. B stands for beliefs, which is how you interpret the event, how you're thinking about it. So the idea here is when you're using this model is to record what you were saying to yourself in the midst of the adversity, and this is why you need self-awareness. You've got to get very clear on what's running through your mind. It's like downloading all that jibber-jabber that can be going on in your mind in the middle of adversity. And I want you to write it down. When you're starting to practice this model, it's about writing it down verbatim. Don't censor it or worry about being polite. So this is really about you getting a very clear sense of capturing that thinking, because thinking is happening fast and a lot of it's unconscious, and you want to make it more conscious. You actually want to find out what you're actually thinking and how you're interpreting or explaining the event. You want to find out what stories you're telling yourself, and you want to find out what sort of language you're using as well. Now, we've discussed that certain kinds of thinking habits trigger responses such as helplessness. Now, other beliefs you hold might be positive and supportive, so you want to find out what they are as well. And it can be quite hard to identify our thinking because it happens so fast. Now, in the Great Managers Academy, we teach the S+T=R model to help leaders do this more skillfully and more quickly. So that's one to practice. Really get practiced at that one. So hopefully you all know what I mean by that. Some of you are new and you'll find that in strategy 2. So C stands for consequences, which captures how you feel after the event. It's about being aware of what are you feeling? What's happening in your physiology? Is your physiology escalating in terms of your state? That sort of thing. So what are you doing with your behavior? Now, this part of the model can be an alternative starting point if you get derailed by feelings or emotions and you're not sure where they came from. But the idea of this part is you start by asking yourself, what am I feeling? And being able to identify and label your feelings is an important aspect of emotional intelligence. Now, many people find this hard initially, but it improves considerably with practice. It's just like any other skill. The more you practice it, the better you get at it. But most people have not learnt about emotions as a skill through their life. They've just picked up bits and pieces along the way. And we talk about this a lot in the Great Managers Academy and how important this skill is. So it's another skill that we teach, and it's another skill that we want you to practice really regularly so that you can develop this skill to a level of mastery. The next part of the model is where you activate free will or choice, and you start to look for distortions or pessimistic patterns in your thinking and dispute them. This is where the change in your thinking begins. So D stands for disputation. So there are 4 elements of effective disputation. First, you look for evidence. So this is about countering your pessimistic beliefs. So you might hear yourself say something pessimistic and you counter it by saying, based on what? What facts do I have to support this belief? And then you can look for alternative explanations, because almost nothing that happens to you in life has just one cause. Most events have a range of possible causes. So rather than latching on to a permanent or pervasive explanation, try to find alternatives that might be less destructive for you or for your relationships or for the situation. So the next part of this section of the model is to explore the implications of your belief. So this is called decatastrophizing. So it's very important that you're aware of when you're turning something into a drama unnecessarily, because this will escalate you. The amygdala hijack will take over and it'll be hard to pull out of. So on a regular basis, just be aware of where you're turning something into a drama. You might be talking about the traffic or the weather or what someone else was doing to you. So it's about being able to pull up in those simple moments so you can develop this skill. So practice decatastrophizing regularly. And then examine the usefulness of your beliefs. Sometimes the consequences of holding a belief matter more than if the belief is true. So ask yourself, is that belief destructive? Many relationships have been fractured permanently because people believe they're 100% right and the other person is 100% wrong. Now, while your ego loves to be right, perhaps the relationship may be more important than that temporary win. Now, to get better at this part of the model, you can ask a trusted friend to help you dispute a belief if you feel stuck with your beliefs, if you sort of feel in the grip of a belief. But make sure you're very clear with this trusted friend about what you're trying to achieve. Otherwise, they might collude with you and then you get to stay stuck. They might help you justify that belief, and you don't want that when you're working towards building optimism. So you can also distract yourself by turning your attention elsewhere, or you can distance yourself from your beliefs. But to change thinking patterns long term, it's better to capture them and find a lasting remedy. It's better to replace non-supportive thoughts with something that helps you get an emotionally intelligent outcome. So the E stands for energization or execution. Now this is what you do or choose to think instead, and how you feel as a result of making these choices. So the idea is, at this point, it's to reflect on the positive impact on yourself and others as a result of your more positive response. So it might be something along the lines of, what did you learn from challenging your habitual thinking in this situation? How are you feeling now, having made that choice? And what actions are you taking?